Hello and welcome to Richa's first travel journal. So, at the end of 2017, in November, I headed to Asia with a group of ambitious business students to have an experience that I hoped would change me, make me more independent, street smart, and to inspire and teach me to see opportunities in almost anything. Now, having completed the journey across Asia through Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, and China, less in Thailand and Cambodia as I joined the team later in the trip, I want to share some of the lessons I got out of this experience. So let's start with Cambodia. Cambodia is a developing free market economy in Southeast Asia whose modified liberal trades and investment policies have heavily promoted trade and foreign investments. Resultantly, Cambodia has one of the fastest annual average growth of 7.5% over the last decade. To better understand and work effectively in this business climate, it is important to recognize its interesting yet horrific history that the country and its people have suffered through. Teachings from the killing fields and S-21 showed that the Khmer, the people of Cambodia, have lived through one of history's greatest tragedies, the genocide of the Khmer Rouge, which took place less than 40 years ago under the reign of Pol Pot. Cambodia had essentially lost everything. Approximately 2 million people dead, no institutions of any kind, no bureaucracy, no army or police, no state or private commercial networks, and no legal system, and an even larger setback in their economic and political standing in the world. You constantly wonder the amount of progress this nation would have made if this event did not occur. How would the people have been different? These events have had a large impact on the people and the culture, and thus has even extended to it now being part of their national and cultural identity. Having lived through a dictatorial regime, it is understandable as to why the Khmer people are not readily open to change and are rather sensitive or even skeptical of outside influences on the country. It is important for businesses to understand this and to work in collaboration with the community in mutual respect when working in Cambodia. Despite the improving business climate, there are significant obstacles in doing business in Cambodia, which includes weak rule of law, poor infrastructure, red tape and corruption, and underdeveloped human resources. Particularly the point of having a weak rule of law, so a rule of law which means the ruling of a country can only be exercised with well-defined and established laws to support decisions or commands. So having a weak rule of law tends to facilitate for the restriction of the freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, and media freedom, and perpetuates corruption and poverty. This point particularly rang true in a conversation I had with Menith Chong, a Cambodian-Australian expat working for This Life Cambodia NGO. He said that given the cultural sensitive context of Cambodia, as a business operating in this environment, it is important to take great care in the way businesses communicate with authorities and policymakers. It could very easily become difficult and dangerous. From my time in Cambodia, though it was shorter than that of the group, I truly appreciate the opportunity of being able to work on the Moto Doctor project for This Life Cambodia. I think having business-oriented students to bring in fresh new ideas to generate possible directions for a business is both creative and innovative in itself. One phenomena that is experienced by almost all entrepreneurs over an extensive amount of time, regardless of the business and its environment, is a loss of purpose and direction, and it often manifests as a lack of inspiration, innovation, and a vision in terms of what the business should explore in the future. In terms of the entrepreneurial mindset with respect to the Cambodian context, it is evident throughout our travel that the country's priority sectors are manufacturing, especially clothes and shoes, agriculture, and horticulture. However, the agribusiness is basic and most commodities are exported in raw form. Further integration of Western technologies in production, food safety, and post-harvest chains, and reduction in the importations of feed, additives, medicines, and vaccines will likely work to diversify production and commercialize industry, thus sustaining both growth and competitiveness. However, these industries need to be actually scoped further in order for business opportunities. Vietnam is projected to remain the world's fastest growing economies in the next decade, with its primary economic focus in textiles, vehicles, and electronic devices. With over 60% of its 21.7 million people still under the age of 35, its existing average annual growth of 6.4% in GDP in 2016 is expected to increase drastically. Vietnam's history is riddled with wars, most notably being the Vietnam War. The remnants of the war have reshaped the Vietnamese culture, practice, and even perspective. I learnt that at the Cu Chi Tunnels. The Cu Chi Tunnels is an extensive network made up of tens of thousands of small narrow tunnels built by the communist guerrilla troops from North Vietnam, who were combating the well-supplied American and Republic South Vietnam forces. To my surprise, the Cu Chi Tunnels held an atmosphere of pride, courage, and brilliance, which was contrary to what I had expected from a place of such tragedy. People acted in a way that reflected their acknowledgement of the past and praised intelligence behind how the guerrillas tackled the unfavorable situation, with the use of traps, with the way that they handled the smoke, and essentially maintained a life underground. The lightness of the ambience fiercely reflected the resilience of the people and their forward-thinking mindset to make Vietnam more economically, socially, and politically stronger and more sustainable. From traveling across Vietnam and time at the No One Teach One enterprise, also known as CODO, doing business in Vietnam entails working past some of the challenges presented by the business environment, some of which includes the existence of a language barrier, political instability, inadequately educated workforce, corruption, and inefficiency of the government bureaucracy. These are the key factors that a business intending to engage with this cultural context must assess, scope, and strategize to reduce impact on business operations and its success. Vietnam is a country that explodes with entrepreneurial opportunities, especially with its manufacturing and textile industries. One idea involves the exportation of Vietnamese craftsmanship, such as handmade thread work, eggshell paintings, marble artwork, Vietnamese bowls with chopstick holder parts into the global market. Even exportations of Vietnamese textiles into the global market as a possible business venture projects almost a 10% boost to the Vietnamese economy by the end of 2030. Another venture also focuses on bridging the gap between the tailors in Hoi An and the Western countries, or better yet, the global market, in delivering custom-designed attires within a short time frame at very competitive prices. China is the world's largest trading nation and manufacturer by output and has an annual GDP growth that consistently exceeds 7% in the last 3 decades. China is quickly becoming an economic superpower, rivaling the US in sheer size and its cultural influence. Number 1, motion. Being in China, in the heart of Shanghai, was the most surreal experience I've had in a while. The city has mastered the art of efficiency, whether it be the metro, the traffic, or the pedestrian crossing. In the crowded streets of Shanghai, people are constantly moving. The city is live and hustling, and people value every second. Just being there conjures a blended emotion of inspiration and intimidation. Number 2, size and power. The enormity of the Chinese market is nothing like that of Australia's. The Chinese market has established a growth-oriented ecosystem, with a large population being encouraged to consume Chinese goods and products while also exporting and trading extensively to other parts of the world. Number 3, the political landscape. The Chinese Communist Party, the current government, and the government that's actually been ruling China for about 6 decades, is a highly complex, authoritarian organization that curtails a wide range of fundamental human rights. And some of these rights include the freedom of expression, association, assembly, and religion. You constantly feel like you're being watched, your moves have been tracked, and you're limited in what you can say and do. Number 4 is the language barrier. It's not easy to find people that speak English in China, even in tier 1 cities like Shanghai. It's almost like playing a game of Russian roulette. In my opinion, it's probably even a strategic or a clever move of China to spread their culture to the global market as they become the next economic powerhouse. Honestly, meeting the CEOs and respected members of the businesses that we visited in China was honestly the most rewarding moment of the trip. It made me realize what this career means and how much work and how hard it was going to be to create and sustain a good business, and also marks the point where I truly felt that this career path was right for me. The business leaders Andrew Collins from Mailman, Peggy Liu from Juice, and Andrew Curtins from Kung Fu Comedy shared some great teachings and lessons that awarded them success as entrepreneurs, which now I have also adopted into my own life. Here are some of them. Being an entrepreneur is about managing risks. Always hire people based on habits, not words. Aim to be a category leader, not a Me Too company, and make sure all your activities are geared towards that goal. Mistakes are learning opportunities. Changing consumer behavior is best achieved by creating a new love story around the behavior intended. Marketing is storytelling for a purpose. Now, what's become blatantly apparent to me in this time with these leaders was the importance of being well read and consuming large amounts of information from books and articles, and also being consistent in being in touch with the market and always knowing how it's actually changing, and also being tenacious in my thoughts, beliefs, and actions. I am proud that I seized this opportunity, took it by the horns, and was gifted with the chance to network with incredible businesses and their leaders, make some truly amazing friends, and obtain priceless nuggets of knowledge about entrepreneurship, about challenges of running a business, and even gain insight into how doing business in the future in Asia is changing. Now, across the 3 countries, there was an incredible amount of information that we picked up, and also multiple reoccurring themes that were pivotal in doing business in Asia. And they include the importance of knowing the market, understanding the culture and cultural practices, and also building a strong local network. I'm grateful and humbled by this experience. 18 years old, traveling through 3 countries with a group of students on a tight budget, planning and working with businesses, touring around some of the greatest cities in the world, all in 4 weeks. Now that's an experience.